Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Anderson in for Dwayne Brown. San Diegans took to the streets and freeways this week following the decision of a Missouri grand jury not to charge white Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson. He fatally shot black teenager Michael Brown back in August. But protest organizers said they also wanted to draw attention to biased policing here in San Diego. Speak City Heights reporter Megan Burks takes a look at that claim. She joins me from the KPBS newsroom. Megan, how does local law enforcement compare to police in Ferguson when it comes to racial bias?
Well, on one yardstick, there seems to be a high level of disparity in San Diego. Using FBI records, USA Today compiled arrest rates for every city that documents them by race. And the data show the gap between the number of whites arrested and the number of blacks arrested by San Diego police officers is actually much wider than in Ferguson. San Diego police arrested non-blacks at a rate of 55 per 1,000 residents in 2012. The rate for black residents was more than 4 times higher at 225 per 1,000. In Ferguson, the gap between groups was smaller at a rate of 186 per 1,000. Blacks were arrested 3 times more than non-blacks.
And how reliable are arrest rates when it comes to measuring things like racial profiling?
Well, there are a lot of flaws in these data sets. It is possible that black people actually do commit more crimes because of historic disenfranchisement. Poor access to education and jobs can lead to criminal behavior. So what a lot of departments are tracking is traffic stops. Police officers have a lot more discretion in deciding whether to stop somebody for a moving violation than they do for assault or property crimes.
And how does San Diego compare to Ferguson when you look at things like traffic stops?
Well, blacks make up about 6% of the driving population in San Diego, but accounted for 12% of the traffic stops during the first quarter of 2014. Whites were stopped at a rate slightly less than their share of the population. In Ferguson, blacks account for 63% of the driving population, but experienced 86% of stops, and whites there were much less likely to be stopped. Now, Ferguson has very few Hispanic residents, so there's not much of a comparison to be made there. But San Diego Hispanics also saw a disproportionate share of traffic stops.
Racial issues are something the San Diego Police Department began taking up before the Ferguson shooting, right?
Right. The police department has changed some of its practices that were considered particularly demeaning in minority communities. So officers are no longer supposed to open every encounter with the question, are you on probation or parole? And they aren't supposed to sit people on the curb if it isn't necessary. The department has also started using police body cameras and has been meeting regularly with residents and leaders in San Diego's black community.
Speak City Heights reporter Megan Burks. Megan, thanks. Union workers picketed outside 4 Walmart stores in San Diego today on behalf of Walmart's non-unionized employees. It was part of a national Black Friday protest against the retailer. Union worker Jose Rodriguez says the company doesn't let many employees work enough to qualify for health care benefits. He says that forces those workers to seek out public assistance. Rodriguez says the company also keeps workers away from their families by opening on Thanksgiving.
We have major companies like Walmart and major politicians that always talk about family values, but when we really, are supposed to support family, so family can be together on holidays, they kind of back off, right? They decide to take the commercial approach and they decide to continue to open shop, and it's essentially all about money.
KPBS reached out to Walmart for comment. The company didn't return our phone call or email. The Walmart website had no comment on the protest. Results remain unofficial almost 4 weeks after Election Day. The San Diego County Registrar of Voters has until Tuesday to confirm the outcomes of local races. 2 of the county's races are separated by a slim margin. Imperial Beach mayoral candidate Serge Dedina is up by 43 votes. Chula Vista City Council candidate John McCann is winning by only 2 votes. Days earlier, that race was tied. Next election, the certification process will be 2 days longer. A state law effective January 1st allows mail-in ballots that are postmarked on Election Day to be counted. That doesn't happen right now. Mail-in ballots have to be received by Election Day to be counted. Nearly 55% of San Diegans vote by mail. The NFL has lifted its suspension of former Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice. Today, a former federal judge ruled in favor of Rice, who appealed the NFL ban. The ban was put in place when video surfaced showing Rice knocking out his then-fiancée in an elevator in Atlantic City. Questions about what the NFL knew about the incident have plagued Commissioner Roger Goodell. He's been criticized for how the NFL handled the situation. It's unclear whether Rice will actually return to the NFL. A 22-year-old suspect is in custody in connection with a shooting that took place early this morning at a home near Sunset Cliffs. A San Diego 911 dispatcher says a man and a woman were taken to UCSD Medical Center by ambulance, but they died at the hospital. The suspect matched the description given by witnesses and was carrying a handgun. Police arrested him without incident. The typical Black Friday experience may not be everyone's thing, and this year we found a Black Friday sale that doesn't involve long lines or jam-packed parking lots. KPBS video journalist Katie Shulov was there.
The Black Friday sale at a Simpler Time Farm and Mill does involve big-eyed furry animals, alpacas. They're related to llamas, and they're from the same Andes Mountain region in South America. But alpacas are bred specifically for their super soft fiber, used to make hats, sweaters, and other textiles.
Hey, sweeties. I love getting kisses.
Barbara Davies and her husband have been running a Black Friday sale for the past few years.
If you're looking for just a pet alpaca, they are normal prices around $500. So today it's $250.
But if you want a breeder, you're looking at least $1,500 on sale.
That's the skein winder.
The Davies have been in the alpaca business for 15 years. They breed and board the animals. They have a mill where they process their fiber and a store where they sell yarn and other alpaca products. Jeremy Nicodeme came to the Black Friday sale with his wife and a friend. But they weren't quite ready to take home an animal.
It is on me and the wife's to-do list at some point in our future. We just don't have the space for it right now, and I don't think it's financially responsible yet. But they're great pets. They're so cuddly. Once you actually get interacting with them, I can make some money with it. I can make my own yarns with it. Then I have a Simpler Time here spin it for me.
Before you decide to run out and get an alpaca for, say, a Christmas gift, check the zoning regulations in your neighborhood and make sure you're allowed to keep one. Katie Shulov, KPBS News.
That story was written by KPBS reporter Jill Replogle. Mall parking lots around the county have been packed all day with holiday shopping season in full swing. Amitha Sharma tells us about an effort to get people to buy local.
As shoppers race through big box stores hunting for gift bargains on this Black Friday, another day of good deals await consumers tomorrow with Small Business Saturday. Small Business Saturday is meant to encourage shoppers to buy at local retail outlets. Joining me to talk about the effort is Matt Gordon, Vice President of North Park Main Street, which is a nonprofit aimed at revitalizing North Park, and Kahana Kalama, owner of Aloha Sunday, also in North Park, is here as well. Kahana, what can a shopper get at a small business that he or she can't get at a big retailer?
I think the key ingredient is just, that personal interaction. I think that with our store, we're constantly trying to give people a personal experience, and I just think that that's something that you can get with coming and shopping at an independent retailer like Aloha Sunday.
So, Matt, what are the advantages of buying at a small business, not just for the consumer, not just for the business itself, but for the local community, for the local economy?
I think there's all kinds of things you could say. Keeping those dollars in the local economy is a big part of it. Of course, if you shop at some chains, you still, the money probably stays within San Diego. But areas such as North Park, we've gone through such a tremendous revitalization over the last decade or so that to continue to see that grow, to attract more businesses to the area, it's just great for San Diego, North Park, of course, but just to the diversity of businesses and the the jobs that it provides and all the diversity within the neighborhood. It's fantastic.
So, Cajon, big businesses count a great deal on Black Friday, on this time of the year, the shopping season, for their annual profits. How big of an effect does this time of year have on small businesses in terms of their bottom line?
I think, to be totally honest, we're really not that dependent on this weekend. The thing that I think for us is most attractive about it is just that it really shines a light on a community like North Park. You know, people are comfortable shopping and they're looking for something new and unique. And North Park is just the perfect place for them to go and have a new experience shopping.
And how interactive are customers with the small business owners? I mean, do they like to hear stories about how the business got started?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I own the business with one other person, and on any given day that you're in there, we'll be there. And that's really the biggest reason why we enjoy it, is just because we love talking to customers, you know. So we're constantly sharing our story. We're constantly explaining to people why we do what we do, and it's great to just make that connection.
Matt, you spoke earlier a little bit about revitalizing North Park. What specifically has been done to reinvigorate the area?
Oh, I think the list is long. I've been a member of North Park Main Street for a couple of years now, but I've been a business owner in North Park for about 8 years now. And from the parking garage and the revitalization to the theater that's there, to some of the redevelopment programs that were available in the past, it's been an area where people could take a risk on their first businesses. My first business was there. And it sort of almost became a laboratory or a workshop for that, and now it's a thriving retail, restaurant, nightlife, theater district, you know, lots of galleries and other things. So it's still young enough that people are able to maybe take a chance and try their first thing out, and in an environment where people are coming, as he said, to look for more unique items and interesting things, and to interact with either the creators or the craftsmen or the owners of the businesses or the artists themselves sometimes, a little more personal experience.
So, Cajon, what effects are you seeing of this revitalization on your business?
I think it's just a strengthening of what brought me to North Park in the very beginning, you know, and it's this appreciation for value and products with a story and a reason for being. And I think that, you know, it's a great incubator for small businesses like myself. You know, I mean, the community is just so supportive of that type of thought, and you can see the effects that it's having with, you know, new businesses popping up all over the place.
Do you think it's brought the community closer?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 100%. We're all in it together, and, you know, we're all kind of telling the same story.
So North Park was once sort of a place for the nightlife, and now people are going there during the day.
Yeah, I think in the times I've been in the neighborhood, the years I've been there, we've seen it go from a place that people were sort of scared to go to for a little while to become more nightlife oriented, and now in the last couple of years it really has become a really balanced thing. We've got great coffee shops and galleries and designer clothes, you know, manufacturers right there, hardware stores, yoga studios, dental offices. Really, it's a really diverse area. I have businesses in some other neighborhoods in the Main Street district, the business improvement district within North Park. It really is a community that's working really hard to do this all together. And some other neighborhoods that I'm part of that are more established, you don't have that sense of shared work going on, and so that is really something unique to North Park, in my opinion.
Matt, Cajon, thank you both. North Park is just one of many communities around San Diego hosting Small Business Saturday. We have more information and links on our website at kpbs.org.
San Diego State Library will open the school's first free 3D printing studio in January. It's to help bring student ideas from the drawing board to a real dimension. KPBS's Nathan John has details.
Any student will be able to use the Love Library's new 3D printing studio to print anything they want, within reason. It will be in the library's open working space.
And so to have that here makes it available in a place where there are already staff who can help, and it's open 24 hours.
That's Gail Etchmeyer, the library's dean. She's driving this 3D studio project to encourage student innovation.
And they would have that opportunity to create something, to imagine something, to dream, to really do something innovative.
This innovative space aims to pull students in and give them experience with 3D technology, then push them toward bigger projects at places like SDSU's Zahn Innovation Center. Spencer Caroli started his own company here. He's graduating this year. His company is called Manus.
My first product for Manus is a high-performance, low-profile knee pad. It's mostly for action sports, or more specifically, gravity-based action sports.
Since starting at the Zahn Center 10 months ago, Manus has grown to a team of 6 people. With this 3D machine at hand, Caroli's team can test out designs, materialize their ideas, and make prototypes quickly and cheaply. Etchmeyer said the biggest drive behind SDSU's workshop is quick student success like Caroli's.
They said if they had had a 3D printer available in the library, they would have been able to bring their product to market much faster.
For KPBS News, I'm Nathan John.
I'm Mark Sauer. Tonight we look at San Diego's crumbling infrastructure, the problems with the downtown airport, the resilience of the Mount Soledad Cross issue, and the inadequacies of the Chargers Stadium. These are the issues that won't go away. Join us for the roundtable tonight at 8:30 here on KPBS.
The city of Berkeley gained widespread attention a couple of weeks back when voters there passed the nation's first soda tax. Other U.S. cities have tried and failed to regulate sodas and other sugary drinks as a way to combat obesity and related health problems. But there is a country that's been taxing sugary drinks for almost a year now. Reporter Jill Replogle tells us the initiative in Mexico appears to be producing some positive results.
Clinic number 27 in Tijuana is the biggest family medicine clinic in Mexico. A full 30% of workers in this border city and their families come here when they have a cold or joint pain, or the most common ailment, when they have symptoms of diabetes.
That's basically one of the critical diseases we have here. Obesity and diabetes is rising, their complications are rising, and every day it's from younger patients.
70% of Mexico's adults are overweight or obese. In recent years, the country has competed with the U.S. for the unflattering title of fattest country in the world. And nearly 13% of Mexico's population has diabetes. Excess weight and lack of exercise fuel type 2 diabetes, the most common kind.
¿Cómo está? Bien.
A nurse at the clinic weighs Armando Huerta and checks his glucose level.
When you find out you're diabetic, it feels like your whole world falls apart.
Huerta found out he had diabetes 2 years ago.
I used
to eat a lot of fried stuff. Chicharrones, a lot of tortillas, mole, and always with soda, any kind of soda. We Mexicans say it helps you burp and feel better.
But that feel-good effect can mask long-term damage. According to Harvard researchers, drinking 1 to 2 sugary beverages per day can increase a person's risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 26%. Mexico is trying to get a handle on this public health crisis. Starting this year, it slapped a 1 peso per liter tax, that's about 7 cents, on sugary drinks. Revenue from the tax is supposed to fund drinking fountains in public schools and health education programs. It also added an 8% tax to high-caloric foods like potato chips and cookies.
Taxation, just like it did for tobacco, is the most effective way to get people to change their behavior.
Barry Popkin is working with researchers from Mexico's National Institute of Public Health to document the effects of that country's sugary drink tax. Their preliminary results show that during the first 3 months of 2014, purchases of sodas and other taxed beverages declined by 10% compared to the same time period in 2013. But purchases of untaxed drinks like pure fruit juice and milk went up 7%, and purchases of bottled water went up 13%.
Essentially, people were substituting plain water, the healthiest beverage we could drink other than milk, for sugary beverages.
Con Mexico, the major consumer product industry group, admits that sales are down, but it says sales of consumer products are down in general. The industry group says the taxes aren't working.
The soft drink companies have ran all sorts of promotions trying to keep up their customer base since the sugar tax went into effect. And they also sell a lot of bottled water. And Coca-Cola recently introduced this product in Mexico. It's called Coca-Cola Life, and it's half stevia, half sugar. And we'll see if it catches on.
Public health advocates say if consumers do start choosing lower sugar sodas or smaller sized sodas, that will be a victory. Still, some people in Tijuana just don't think the tax will make much of a difference. Juan Valle says sales of Coke are up at his family's Tijuana store, even though it's more expensive.
I don't think taxing a product is going to do a lot of educating the public. I just don't.
In any case, many Mexican consumers here in the border region have a way of getting around the soda tax. They just shop in the U.S. Berkeley shoppers hoping to avoid their new soda tax could do the same and shop outside of the city. And they wouldn't even need a passport. Jill Replogle, KPBS News.
That story was produced in part by KPBS video journalist Katie Shulov. Many people are eating leftovers from their Thanksgiving meal tonight, but as folks get busy during this holiday season, chances are they'll be picking up a quick bite at a local restaurant. Amitha Sharma tells us new rules announced by the FDA could make it easier for us to track calories there.
A typical meal at a restaurant carries more than half the calories that a person should consume in one day. And Americans spend more than half their food dollars on food prepared outside the home. This week, the Food and Drug Administration came out with new rules requiring fast food restaurants, convenience stores, movie theaters, and eateries with more than 20 outlets to post calorie counts. Katie Ferraro is a registered dietitian and a nutrition instructor at San Diego State and the University of San Diego. She joins me now. Katie, will the new rules discourage people from making bad food choices at restaurants?
Well, for us here in California, the new rules have actually been in effect. They're old rules for a couple of years now. And there's a little bit of data to suggest that it does help people eat, on average, about 100 calories less per meal. And that's at a typical sit-down restaurant or a fast food establishment.
So as you said, we've been watching these rules unfold here in California for some time now. So has that in turn forced restaurant owners to maybe create lower calorie dishes?
Yes, that's been one of the really surprising and fortunate side effects of this rule, is that restaurants have been on board with this in the sense that they've been reformulating certain menus. So you can go to places, for example, like the Cheesecake Factory and see the Skinnylicious menu now. Even Denny's has Fit Fare. So the restaurants kind of have taken, if you can't beat them, join them approach to this and put some lower calorie options on their menu for those people who are interested.
So nonetheless, though, a typical meal at a restaurant exceeds, I guess not exceeds, but is more than half of the daily calorie requirement. What are some of these meals?
Well, if you think about it, the way that a chef at a restaurant cooks, they want you to enjoy the food. So they're going to be much more inclined to use a lot more added butter, added fat, and added sugars than you would at home. So even seemingly healthy meals, like for example, grilled fish, when it comes out all beautiful and glistening, it's because it's usually drenched in hundreds, sometimes even thousands of calories worth of butter.
And what are some of the other meals?
Some of the other higher calorie meals tend to be ones that are really heavy on starches. As a dietitian, we recommend people eat about half their plate full of fruits and vegetables. But think about your typical restaurant meal. It's usually primarily made up of a lot of starch, a lot of meat, and then maybe a small amount of fruits or vegetables.
And how can people offset these calories? I mean, they still want to go to restaurants. How can they offset some of the damage that they might be doing?
Well, one thing that I always recommend is to think of eating out at restaurants as a sometimes occasion. If you cook at home more frequently than you eat at restaurants, you're automatically going to be preparing more healthful foods. But when you do eat out, try to do things like ordering off the appetizer menu, which tend to be smaller portions. Ask the waiter how some of the foods are prepared. We want to look for baked foods as opposed to sauteed or high oil foods. And then also just consider asking for a box as soon as your food comes. Ask for a box and take half of it home, enjoy that later, and then just have half that portion there at the restaurant.
What about ordering drinks along with your meal?
Well, that's one of the interesting provisions about this new law, is that it's going to require restaurants to also divulge the calorie information for alcoholic beverages. You want to watch out for really large portions of sugary beverages, which a lot of people drink in restaurants. Instead, try to stick to calorie-free drinks like coffee, tea, iced tea, water, and then save your calories for the food if you can.
So, dining out is supposed to be a really pleasurable experience. Does having the calorie count on these menus, does it suck the fun out of the experience?
You hear that sometimes. People say, listen, when I go out to eat, I don't want to know what's in there. We do know from other data from other cities, for example, New York City, that about 1/3 of people do use that data to make better choices. So I think it's better to have the information available for you, and then if you want to use it, it's kind of up to you whether or not you decide to make lower calorie choices.
So we're in the middle of the holiday season now. As you know, there are lots of sweets, lots of treats everywhere at work, even at stores, at parties. How do people get to enjoy some of these delicacies while at the same time not sacrificing their weight or their health?
Well, I think one of the best things to do is to think about when you eat at a restaurant that, don't deprive yourself. If you deprive yourself throughout the day and you're starving and you get to a restaurant, then of course you're going to overeat. So it's okay to indulge, but less is more. Try to go to a really good restaurant. Sometimes a higher end restaurant, you'll find yourself ordering a little smaller portions, ask what the specials are, order off the appetizer menu is another way to do that as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Katie Ferraro.
Thank you.
We saw Thanksgiving of record-breaking temperatures yesterday. The city of San Diego was at 85 degrees, 2 degrees higher than the previous record set back in 1903. Temperatures will be cooling down this weekend, 60s along the coast through Monday. High surf and strong rip currents are expected through Saturday afternoon. 60s on Sunday for the inland valleys, 70s by Monday. It'll be cooler along the mountains with a chance of rain for Sunday. 80 tomorrow out in the desert areas, upper 70s toward the end of the weekend. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. Hope you have a great weekend.